Hey everybody, welcome back to Marine Corps Movie Minute, where we're breaking down movies of the Marine Corps 1 minute at a time. Today we're doing minute number 115. I'm Jack.
I'm Brian.
And we got guests, so hey guys, please introduce yourself.
All right, I'll go ahead and jump in first. Alan Sanders with The Wilder Ride. Thanks for the invite. We've been chatting all year long. Something kind of happened in the middle of the year that screwed up everyone's schedule. Can't put my finger on it, but glad to finally be here.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, some kind of possibly not really as bad as it was told to us disease that was going around, but
I like what you're
Corona.
yeah, and I'm also from The Wilder Ride. I'm Walt Murray, the co-host, and yeah, I love this movie, and I've been listening to you guys here and there for the last couple months, so I'm really excited to be on tonight.
Yeah, we're happy to have both of you here for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I only listen to us every once in a while too, so.
Yeah.
I know how it goes.
He lives it. He can only put up with us for so long, you know?
I even get sick of myself. I'm just going to go put myself in the corner for a little while.
Well, we had a podcasting husband and wife that do a podcast together on our show a couple weeks ago. And the wife said, I've never listened to any of our shows. So a rousing endorsement, I guess.
Yeah. Well, it's a bold strategy. I hope it pays off.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, minute 115 starts with Corporal Jones to the rescue, and it ends with Gunny going to go do some heroic shit.
Stitch. Well, you know, guys, actually, before we dive into the minute, because I just love this minute so much, I was going to dive right in. We were talking a little bit offline, but what's your guys' history with this movie, Heartbreak Ridge? I know you guys are Clint Eastwood fans, so like, where does this rank in your Eastwood best of movies? Is it up there? Is it in the middle? Yeah.
Eastwood. Well, for me, I saw this in the theater the day it came out.
Jesus Christ.
I know I'm old.
Must be a
Hey,
fan.
Walt, welcome.
But,
I hope you
my
took your
brother and I-
Geritol. We don't want you falling asleep.
Yeah. Well, I'm all hopped up on too much coffee right now, so I'll be asleep in about 10 minutes. So I got to get it all out right now. Well, me and my brother had always been Eastwood fans. I mean, we would go see Every Which Way But Loose, and all
Excellent
those movies, and great movie.
Monkey movie, yeah.
Great movie. Yeah, and so anytime an Eastwood movie came out, we were like, yeah, we got to go. So we went opening night. It was a Friday night, and it was packed. I mean, packed full of former military guys, probably some current military folks. And not only did we just absolutely love the movie, it was a raucous crowd. They were into it. They were yelling and screaming. You were getting all the Marine Corps stuff. So we really had a blast. I can't tell you how many times over the years I've watched this movie. I've got parts of the dialogue memorized. I can sit down and I know exactly what's coming every single time. So I absolutely love this movie. This is probably in my top five. It's definitely my top 5 Eastwood movies.
Oh, right on.
Awesome.
Now, I'm going to go, as is usually the case between me and Walt, I'm a little different. I probably put it in the upper third of his movies because, let's face it, he's got a huge body of work. And some of his Westerns just alone are going to be in the top 2 or 3 spots for me because I think that's just where I became a Clint Eastwood fan, the whole Man with No Name, Outlaw Josie Wales, then turning around and doing Pale Rider, and then, to me, the masterpiece, Unforgiven. Yeah. So those are hard to supplant out of the top 5 for me, but easily probably in the top 20 of his movies, which is, he's got a ton of flicks under his body of work. He's got close to 50 movies that he's been in. I just liked it because
put his Dirty Harry movies?
They're scattered because, some of them are better than others.
Yeah.
Like
definitely.
Deadpool, I think is the worst one, but it was the most recent one, right?
Right.
And the first one, no one had ever seen anything like that before. So it was so like, oh my gosh, look at this guy. He can't do anything, he gets away with everything. For me, I put this probably about in the top 20. It's a Hollywoodized version of a war movie, but it does everything I love in a badass kind of war movie character. It's sort of like you took a hero and then wrapped him in not only just Hollywood, but the American flag, and just it made it even better and shinier. I don't know if it was realistic in places. I don't think the guys would have acted the way they did. I don't know any of the Marines who would still be alive if they acted the way they did when he first showed up.
Right.
But I get from a Hollywood perspective why they did it, and it makes their transition for when they finally go to Grenada, which is where we are here, so much more of an impact. So I get it from the Hollywood storytelling side. I think he's just got stronger other movies, but it's certainly a very, very good flick.
Absolutely.
This is one of my favorites, obviously, and I've said on the show before, if it wasn't for this movie, I may have not joined the Marine Corps. It wasn't the sole reason by any stretch of the imagination, but it had such a big influence on me that I'm like, so obviously it's a special place in my heart, versus some of the other movies, but I wouldn't say it's the best either. But it's definitely, I'd say top 10, maybe even top 5 for me. But he's got, like you said, he's got so many good stuff. The thing is, the movie itself to me is a okay movie if you had a different actor in place of Gunny Highway.
I agree.
Or of Clint Eastwood playing it, but he is a character of his own. Like I would put Clint Eastwood Gunny Highway up there as like an iconic character. He makes this movie. I mean, Stitch is great. Yeah, Stitch is great, and all this, and the story is good, but with a different actor or a different character, it wouldn't be the same movie, I don't think.
No.
Totally agree. This movie is a Clint Eastwood vehicle. Everybody else is set dressing.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mario Van Peebles, this is the only thing I can think of him being in. I can't, like, he's not an actor that stands out to me.
Highlander, well, he's got a couple.
Highlander. Well, Highlander 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck
but
you,
I mean,
Billy.
like, if you said name the movies,
I couldn't remember which number.
Really. Yeah.
Yeah. He's been in a few good movies, but yeah, there's this. This is his most memorable role by far.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, and I was just gonna say, when you look at the list of actors in the movie, it's like Clint Eastwood, and then like all these other people. Yeah. Like Marsha Mason's name, Mario Van Peebles, but there are no other A-listers in this movie, and so you're right, Alan. It is definitely a Clint Eastwood movie.
It, like, most of these people that he in this movie were like either unknown guys. A lot of recon were kind of like in the business, but they weren't like known. But they were a lot of the all the other background characters are all like they were TV actors mostly. Half the IMDb of everybody we looked at has been on every TV show in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah, no doubt.
Mario Van Peebles, to me, I'm always amazed that he wasn't like a breakout star or a bigger, like, he's a name, and he's been in like what was the New Jack City? Wasn't he in that? Yeah,
yep.
He was, and he when he had a posse, I think it was like a Western. But he never really caught on as like a big thing. And I'm always surprised because he's easily the number 2 guy in this movie, and he's great. At least in this movie, I think.
Yeah. Oh, I think he is great in this.
Well, what he does with his character, and I know we're kind of just riffing on just in general kind of level setting before we jump in, but I always thought he was the one character who took a stock 2-dimensionally written role and still found a way to make it his own.
Yes.
Yeah, he's very interesting.
Yeah.
Well, and we found out just through research, and thankfully Pete Koch gave us a lot of background information.
Friend of the show.
Yeah, friend of the show, Pete Koch. A lot of the stuff that kind of happens in this movie, like all the songs that Stitch Jones sings, Mario Van Peebles wrote them. He is not a guitar player by any means. He kind of lied about knowing how to play the guitar, and it kind of shows. But he wrote a song, and he said, "Hey, Clint, I wrote this song. Do you want to put it in?" And he said, "Yeah." So stuff like that. He's worn some T-shirts that I wish I could get to the bottom of if he just made it himself, that were references to a movie his dad did and that he starred in as a little kid. Well, he didn't star in it. He appeared in it as a little kid. And just a lot of the character. He even Pete Koch gets into it when he was on with us, that said the shot when Swede first shows up and goes to attack Gunny, and you see him. The camera starts at his feet and pans all the way up, and he just looks like a monster. That was Stitch Jones's idea. Mario Van Peebles' idea. He went to Clint Eastwood and said, "Well, hey, Clint, what if we try it with the camera down here and we pan up?" And they looked at it and I said, "Yeah, let's do it." Like Pete basically said that changed the whole dynamic of his entrance by just making him look so much more massive than the straight shot that they originally had planned. So Mario Van Peebles really did do a lot to kind of, like you said, take a, he's the goofball character that, you learn has a heart of gold, and then, kind of
ends up being a pretty decent Marine.
Yeah, right. He ends up being like the go-to guy. But
he really grows up in this movie.
Yes.
His character goes from being kind of an immature kid to being a responsible Marine who takes care of the guys who he's fighting with, and also realizes that he's not a musician.
No, not at all. Although I do have some fun with some of his songs, and the way Recon just they all seem to know the same lyrics, and I think that's what they do on their spare time is they just get together and dance and sing. But
they would dance off with the corpsman down the hill from Recon.
Well, one of the things I think what he does what he brings to the role for me is there's that sense of that natural charm and almost that sense of natural leadership that's being squandered early that we get to see developed once he's put through like that chisel, like the steel, sharpening steel kind of, or iron sharpening iron. And it takes Eastwood to take that natural charisma and natural leadership that he was using to kind of get everybody to do the wrong things, and now brings him around that, he becomes one of the guys that you can kind of look up to who gets it now, wants to do the right things.
Yeah, exactly. That's perfect too, because we've joked about how he is the ringleader when they're up to no good, and now he's the corporal that they all need when shit gets real, basically.
Yeah.
Right. And you get the sense of that early on when Webster's trying to get him to all sign a thing about live ammunition being used, stuff, and he's like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And everybody kind of followed suit, and I loved it. It's just that little bit. He's same glib, same kind of smartass, but now he's putting it toward the bad guy, not toward Clint Eastwood. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because exactly.
And not that he's a bad guy, but toward the negative part of the
antagonist.
Yes.
Well,
yeah.
It mirrors the scene where Swede gets out of the brig and they go to use Swede to kick Gunny out, because it's the same thing. They're all kind of gathered together. He's talking shit. Hey, you've been voted out of office, baby. And and then Swede is there to attack Gunny in that instance. Now it's Webster, same thing. He's showing up trying to mess with them. He's, like you said, he's the first one that kind of speaks up. Everybody follows suit and they all surround him. And sure enough, Swede walks up and intimidates Webster. Unlike Gunny Highway or Clint Eastwood, Webster is intimidated and he leaves.
Yeah.
But now, like you said, it's used. At that point they're totally on board with Highway's program at this, then. And of course now we're seeing it here when they're following his lead into combat too.
Yeah. Now we're where the rubber meets the road. I think they all thought, and I don't know, you guys probably knew this when you were in boot camp. Everybody keeps thinking, well, we're in boot camp, blah, blah, blah. But when you get that first call, stand by for ready, get ready to pack, when I know I never had to get it, but when these guys get, handed their anticoagulants and everything, they're like, you're online. I know guys start wetting their pants because like, holy crap, this is real. We might actually go into combat.
Yep.
That's where it becomes real.
Yeah, for sure. And of course we joked on, this show where they're, they had that readiness drill is what I'm trying to say.
The drill. Yeah.
Yeah. And then of course that turned out to be just a drill. Now they're on a ship. And he's like, this is just a drill, right? No, because even then they're still trying to be like, hey, this isn't real, right? Because I gotta go. Yeah. Even Stitch says I gotta go.
Wow, they really won up the realism of these drills, didn't they?
No, exactly.
Handing you real ammo and actual grenades.
Yeah,
exactly. And that's why you're signing this insurance for me.
Right.
Yeah. It's all a drill.
They're burning all this fuel. They got the helicopters up there. Yep. No, this is just, we're just playing. Psych.
Well, my last rabbit trail for the next couple of minutes. Have y'all talked much about the guy who played Webster?
A little bit here and there. What's his name?
Moses Gunn.
Moses Gunn, that's right, yeah.
So there was a show back in the 90s called Homicide: Life on the Street, which is still one of my favorite cop shows of all time.
Yeah, I remember that show.
And he was on the second episode of that show. He played a guy named Tucker who was being accused of killing a little girl in the neighborhood. And it is probably one of the best acting jobs of any TV show in history. And if you ever get a chance to see that episode, it's in season 1 of Homicide: Life on the Street. They have him in the box, and they're going at him, and it is one of the most intense, powerful, and exhausting scenes you will ever watch on TV, and he plays that part perfect. So he is a really good actor. And
so squandered in this movie. Gotcha.
Squandered like nobody's business in this movie. Because I think the most acting he does is when he kind of shrugs his shoulders and walks out of the barracks.
Yeah. Well, I would say you say that, but what he does with the kiss-ass role that he does, I think he's great as that little bureaucratic, kiss-ass, riding the coattails of his major, trying to, move up the ladder. He's great because he's got that. He thinks he's better, he thinks he's better than Eastwood, but Eastwood always gets a line on him, and just the looks he gives. It's a small role, and he's always the brunt of the jokes, and everybody talks shit to him. But it's like the comeuppance he gets almost every time he opens his mouth. It's outstanding, and just the looks he gives, and and just the way.
You're absolutely right.
He thinks he's hooked his wagon to the right.
Yeah.
He thinks he's on the right star.
And he is absolutely not.
So wrong.
Wait, spoiler, we're not at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Well, there may have already been hints towards that.
Yeah.
Foreshadow.
Exactly. By whatever do you mean?
Yeah. You don't want to give spoilers of the movie from 1986.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it by now, chances are what are you doing here listening to this?
Yeah, it's a minute 115. Pause this really quick, run out, watch the movie, come back and finish the podcast.
If you've made it this far, chances are you've seen this a time or two.
Yeah, there's somebody out there is going, who the hell's Webster?
Yeah.
I don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, that was a great TV show.
Little kid, when did the little kid come in there?
I thought this was the books on tape.
Yeah, what is this? The movie reading for the blind, or we just put this over the movie instead and see how long it takes to get through the movie.
That's a strange audio commentary going along. I don't remember that in the movie.
Why are these guys talking about their personal life?
Yeah, and the writer has just given up. I mean, he's just crying. What are these guys doing in the movie?
It started out okay, but man, it's meandering. Man, you can't even say the words right either.
I thought podcasts were supposed to be great.
Oh, yeah. Well, they're supposed to be.
And then you invite us on.
You're classing up the place. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Well, what do you say we dive into this minute a little bit, because it's a fun minute. So the last week, Perry and I discussed how basically these guys tried to make a call for an airstrike because they're cut off in this building. Phone's dead. They send Stitch Jones out. Stitch Jones is a jack of all trades. He can hotwire. He can trace telephone wires and rewire them. He gets the phone working.
He's a Swiss Army Marine.
Yeah, Duke can do it all.
Yeah.
It's jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah.
I want to ask you a question about this. Did either of you, because this is an 80s movie, have that wallet with the little accordion spill out of all of your credit cards or pictures?
Yeah.
The minute I saw that again, I'm like, oh my God, that was like my first wallet when I was in middle school. I mean, what the hell?
Velcro.
Well, yeah, because it was a big thing to have. I didn't have a credit card back when this movie came out, but you put all your pictures
you stuck all your class pictures and stuff and family pictures and let it unfold.
Yeah, mine said bad motherfucker on it.
Yeah.
I remember mine. It was the Velcro 96 Rock, which was the big rock station here in Atlanta. And every time you opened it, it just fell out, like the accordion. And I was always thinking, if a girl ever gives me her phone number, it's going in here. But otherwise, I got nothing.
Yeah. Every time Walt opened his envelope, it was just empty little squares, all just sitting there sad looking.
Plastic.
Just pictures that came with the wallet.
They came with the wallet. Walt's invented family stories for people that don't exist.
Yeah.
Why do you have Linda Ronstadt's picture in your wallet?
No, it's my girlfriend. She lives in Canada. You wouldn't know her.
She lives in Canada.
It was a time lapse animation of you just getting older from each grade in class.
Why do you have 37
like
pictures of yourself in
Yeah,
It plays like one of those flip book of animations,
yeah.
I remember that bowl haircut like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? You had the mullet at this time.
Oh, yeah, I definitely did it this time.
Well, see, I had the mullet, but way after the time that it was cool, because I was doing it in the 90s.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Hey, guys, where's y'all's mullet? Back in the 80s.
Exactly.
You were cosplaying the 80s.
There we go.
Feathered, spiky, and long in the back, and that shit sucked. I hated it.
Well, if you're friends with me on Facebook, every once in a while, my passport picture from 1987 will pop up, and that's my mullet. And to her dying day, my mom hated that picture.
Oh yeah, I had basically I had it was spiked hair and mullet in the back, and every time I would go get my hair cut, my dad would be like, "Today's the day, right?" No, Dad, I'm not touching my hair. And he wouldn't force me, but man, I could tell he didn't like it. Every time he'd be like, "So you're gonna get your hair cut, right?" Nah, Dad. I'm cool.
Damn
I'm
long
cool.
hair, hippie tots.
Exactly.
Yeah. I remember coming home from college one time and my dad saying, "Do they have barbershops in Athens?"
Why do you ask, Dad?
Well, they don't have barbershops in 2020, at least not for most of it. So we're all going to end up with our mullets again, at least those who can get hair. Actually, you made a joked about the accordion style, use of the credit cards there. So I was looking at the credit card. So, I said Stitch Jones pulls out his wallet because they need a credit card in order to call in an airstrike. And he's like, I was, never go to war without my plastic, basically. And I was joking. I was like, I'm like, I bet you Stitch Jones has the Players Club card in there. Do you guys remember that? The Players Club?
Yeah.
With Tali
Yeah, I
Savalas?
remember that. Yeah.
And I can't tell what kind of cards he has. But I looked it up and I'm like, well, this takes place in 83. And the Players Club card, or Players International as it's known, was not until 84. So I'm like, he wouldn't have it. But if it was the right time frame, Stitch Jones definitely would have had the Players Club card.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
He definitely would have. And he'd had the Playboy Club card.
Yeah, exactly. Well, because I was thinking, I'm like, Stitch Jones has mentioned multiple times about being back in New Jersey, watching the Flintstones or getting a beer and hot dogs. And so I'm like, well, Atlantic City, he's got that Players Club card.
Yeah, absolutely he does. He was probably one of the founding customers.
Now, let me ask you guys this, because he does whip out the plastic because they need it. Is this which of the three principles of Gunny Highway? Is this adapt, overcome, or improvise that he's bringing to the table?
I think it's all three.
I think so.
They're improvising by making a phone call. They can't make a collect call, so they're going to improvise by using the credit card. They're adapting by adapting to the situation that they can't make the collect call.
You can't use the word to define the word.
Sure I can. I just did.
Some words just mean what they mean, right?
And they overcame because the call goes through.
Dummy.
I'm gonna go with this predates Marine Corps adapt, overcome, and improvise, and I'm gonna go with Boy Scout. Just always be prepared.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, because who would think?
I just wondered, because I think visually for me, it was almost like a reminder of everything you kept hearing Gunny Highway. Like that was his mantra. He said it. I don't know have you counted how many times he said that phrase in the movie? Because it's got to be at least a dozen.
It seems like it, but it's not as many times as you think. And he's said it, different variations of it though, where it's like, well, he improvised. Like he'll just, but yeah, it's probably half dozen times at least he says
it. Feels like it's in there a lot because every time he turns around,
it's always
adapt, overcome, improvise. It's what Marines do.
Yeah, it's always in key scenes.
Is that a Marine Corps mantra or is that just something for the movie?
Well, yeah.
What came first, the chicken or the egg?
Marine shit's usually old and broken, so like Marine Corps equipment's usually all wore out secondhand. Like when we get it, you usually get it either from the Navy or from the Army. So yeah,
you get it from the Navy.
Yeah, probably.
Best Uber in the world.
You know what?
Our rifles we may end up getting from the Army, but yeah, most of our
that's the old joke. You know what? That's what Marine stands for, right? My ass rides in Navy equipment.
Yeah. So true.
It is true.
Yeah.
Well, I was just wondering that because it does, and I think you're right. I think it is all three. Like they're adapting to the new situation. They don't have a radio. They've got to overcome the obstacle. And then suddenly when they realize we don't have the ability to place the call, they're improvising. Well, use a credit card.
Yeah.
Well, do y'all know the history of this situation?
Yes, I was going to bring that up because this did happen in real life.
Yes, it did.
Now, I have a friend of mine that was attached to a Ranger unit, and he used to tease me that this movie was a bunch of stolen valor because this was something, at least under his impression, and what I always heard was the Rangers did this. And it was an Army Ranger. They used a payphone, credit card, called in an airstrike. Of course, this movie was originally supposed to be featuring the Army, but it ended up being about the Marine Corps. So this is something that carried over. I've done a little research. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I saw three different stories about it.
Yes.
That are out there. One is that it was a SEAL unit that was pinned down, one that it was Marine Corps unit, and one that it was a Ranger unit. But everybody kind of says, yes, it did happen, but nobody's really sure. But there's some guy out there that's got the bill.
Yeah.
But here's the thing.
Yeah, I wish somebody would come out. Yeah.
A cool ass story. Yeah, he's got the bill and a cool ass story to go with it. That one time that we were
absolutely, and that'd be.
But here's the thing in my mind.
Yeah.
Here's the thing in my mind. It doesn't matter. This movie isn't meant to be a documentary or an actual account moment by moment. It's a kludge together of either archetypes or stories of characters like this. Absolutely. I mean, I watched a couple of YouTube videos where there's a guy who's got a video where he's an ex-gunny sergeant who likes to watch movies and they get like his raw reactions. And he was pausing this and he kept saying, okay, that never would happen. And then it was like, oh, we all knew a ball buster like this, someone who was in Korea or Vietnam, and they were hard as iron and they were always just ready for a fight and will take you out. So it was cool to hear, like, yeah, it's a realistic fiction, but it is a fictional piece.
Yeah, for sure. And that's fine. I mean, this is taking place. There's not a lot of Grenada movies, let's just say. So,
well, it was over in the blink of an eye. So.
Exactly.
Right.
So this is they're drawing from what really happened, and it just
is this one of the forgotten wars?
Yeah, well, yes, kind of. It's not Korea,
Yeah, it's not the War of 1812.
Right,
did they get a ribbon? Did this battle rate a ribbon?
Right, it's not Dominican 65 as we learned about doing this podcast.
Yeah.
We're like, Dominican 65, what was that? We had to look it up, and we're like, oh, there was a whole thing in the Dominican Republic that apparently Clint Eastwood was a part of then, too. Or not Clint Eastwood, Gunny Highway. Yeah, I found this website. It's called wearethemighty.com. I check their stuff out often. They write great stuff. And they were talking about the three different, or the different versions of this. And it said the Navy SEALs Museum says the caller was a Navy SEAL from the governor's mansion, and he called Fort Bragg to get an AC-130 to overhead. And it was that was to protect the SEALs until a group of recon Marines actually, to tie into our movie, relieved them. But then there's also a story where it was recounted by Mark Atkins in Urgent Fury, The Battle of Grenada, and it said a U.S. Army trooper, presumably meaning the paratroopers that or Rangers. He said he called his wife and requested air support from the Navy, and they said that's kind of where James Carbastos, the screenwriter of this movie, heard that version, and that's why he incorporated it because it was an account from a member of the 82nd Airborne. Is where he heard that one, and it was a payphone using a calling card and they call Fort Bragg. And then there was another one where Dick Cheney, of all people, recalls visiting the island as a congressman, and it was somebody said, he recounted that an Army officer needed artillery support, which is not an airstrike. And that,
right.
but it's and then they call it, Fort Bragg seems to be the commonality for this, is that they all end up calling Fort Bragg, but that it was actually in turn they were able to get in contact with the Navy, who then used their artillery support to help them. Either way, this is just one little note that they made about this. Communication was basically fucked up between the branches. Right. These failures led to a change within the DoD. Because I had read something earlier where like a Army helicopter couldn't fuel on a naval ship, and it was like, well, and I think a Marine helicopter crashed, and it was just a mess. So as successful as this landing and invasion was, and they completed their goal, there was a lot of lessons that needed to be learned, and so that brought forward some change. But yeah, the fact that they can't get the story straight, and there's like all these different versions of it, is interesting, because everybody wants to have that credit.
Yeah, well, and you think about it, where this battle or whatever lies in history. We had come out of Vietnam, and from about 75 on, up until this point, the military was pretty malnourished. They were not spending money like they needed to. They were not upgrading equipment. Jimmy Carter was in office for 4 years and basically didn't spend any money on the military, even though he was a World War II vet. And so we get to this point, and all of a sudden it's like, we are not prepared for anything. If anything big happens, we're in deep trouble. Yeah. So it was like they realized at that point, we better jump ahead and put some money into this and get our troops what they need.
They basically said that this was like the first test of the all-volunteer military for the U.S., because prior to that, everything was draft. And it was a successful test, albeit they had to learn to make some changes for it. And leading up to the invasion of Grenada, nobody was prepared to go to Grenada, because they were like, where the hell's that? They were all ready to go to Lebanon because of what happened with the Beirut bombing just days before. Yeah. So it was good. They were ill prepared for this invasion, but it still went off fairly successfully. They said they wanted to make a call to Camp Lejeune, and I love the secretary or the operator. Are you for real?
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Well, first of all, I wanted to know, would anybody, like in any of our Gen Zers, have any idea what they're looking at from about second 19 on? These women working where they're actually patching in signals from one side of a circuit, telephone circuit to another?
They may if they live at Camp Lejeune today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or they've ever visited the White House switchboard.
Yeah, I think Lily Tomlin's working there still,
One ringy dingy.
Yeah.
Two ringy dingy.
Well played, sir. Well played. Yeah. I always think about that when I look at movies that are a little dated with some of the scenes. Because I'm like, this is non-existent now. I think people are like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, I mean, they're literally patch me through. Literally.
Right, exactly. Well, they mean patch me through. That's exactly it.
I mean, this is one step above, like when my grandfather would be like, hey, Flo, get off the party line. I got to make a call.
Yeah.
Well, my great-grandfather used to answer the phone, okay. And we never really could figure out what that was, but the best guess was he could hear you. So, okay.
Okay. Gotcha.
I can hear you. Go ahead and start whatever stupidity you got going.
Right. It wasn't hoy hoy. The operator that we get on here, she's been in a ton of things. This is Annie O'Donnell.
She looks familiar.
She's been in a bunch of things, but the thing that she really stands out to me is she was June Wheeler on Night Court. She was.
Oh yeah.
There was Bob and June Wheeler, and Bob Wheeler was Brent Spiner from Data.
Yeah. And they were that crazy redneck hillbilly couple.
Yeah, and they were.
Yeah, the hillbilly couple.
Yeah, they had a reoccurring role. They would show up every once in a while, and she was the wife.
Holy cow!
But she's been on everything, and I guess one of her bigger roles was she was in Big Love as one of the sister wives, which I've never seen that show, but when you see her face on IMDb, I'm like, oh yeah, I totally recognize her as an older woman, and she's literally been in pretty much everything. I think she was the mom in Blast from the Past, and just.
Oh my gosh, she was on the X-Files.
Yeah, I mean Big Bang Theory, but she was on like there you go, ER. She like pretty much name a show in the 80s and 90s, and she made an appearance on it.
Yeah, she was on NYPD Blue.
Muscle.
Doogie Howser. My gosh.
When I saw it, I was like, man, this lady's familiar. I know her from somewhere. And I saw June Wheeler. That's it.
Oh my gosh, she was Gussie Peabody on the Dukes of Hazzard.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Well, now you got Walt hooked.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. In Atlanta, when she was in Hot Shots, she was the Asian woman. I'm Asian woman. She was Amish woman. I can't read.
That would be a stretch for her, but okay.
That would be cultural appropriation.
Welcome to 2020.
Yeah, man. I just can't read, so you can't blame me.
Wow, she has 113 credits, so she's definitely been a working actress.
Yeah. Actually, she was in another Eastwood movie, Jersey Boys. She's the nun in Jersey Boys, and that was a Clint Eastwood movie, wasn't it? Yeah, it was the Frankie Valley.
Yeah, man, that's an old one.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it was directed by Clint Eastwood. Yep, that's what I thought.
Yeah, but I don't think it's old.
Nah, let's see.
Is it
2014?
14, yeah, it's like 6 years ago.
Wow.
Well, it feels like 100, after this year, though.
And when you're my age, I mean, time just starts to get warped and wobbled. So
yeah, so they call in an airstrike. Basically, they're not sure if it goes off. If the call goes dead after Lieutenant Ring is calling in the airstrike, the coordinates. What I think is funny is Boyd Gaines, who plays Lieutenant Ring, does a really good job of portraying a boot lieutenant. But the fact that he's saying 660-007-110. There's no O in the Marine Corps. There's only zeros. There's no O. There's no
right.
And that stood out to me. It's such a little thing. And I'm like, there's no such thing as a number O. There is a number 0.
That's funny. I didn't even catch that.
Yeah, it's just one of those little things that just like stands out. Call goes dead. Here we go. We're gonna get. We got to improvise. Gunny's gonna go out and mark the spot that they need the airstrike for, and Boyd Gaines or Lieutenant Ring is saying, hey, well, we don't know it went through. Well, sir, we have to improvise. And as Perry said at the beginning, Gunny goes and into heroic mode basically. He's heading out. This is one Gunny highway that's going out the front door.
Well, one thing I really like about this scene is Lieutenant Ring also grows up a lot in these few minutes around.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say it's not even just this scene; it's the whole movie.
Yeah.
It's like everybody that buys into Gunny becomes better as a result of it.
Yeah, they do, and I love that when the first time we see him, he's a Naval Academy graduate, right? And he's headed to some class, and he says, "Well, where did you go to college?" And he says, "Heartbreak Ridge." And he's, "Oh, where's that?" He doesn't even conceive of what that really means.
Yeah.
And then that goes back to what you were actually making good combat decisions.
That goes back to what you were saying, Walt, about this time in the military. Here's this kid basically out of war college. He's got theory, no practice. He's never been in a situation where he's had to actually command anything. One of the things that I've always heard my dad saying when he was career military is any lieutenant, the first thing they do is they better find a good sergeant.
Yeah.
My dad has a couple of great stories about that because he was a lieutenant going through tank school, and he had a old grizzled Korean War vet sergeant in their unit, and he said, "Murray, do not take the tank down the road to the right, but you got to get the tank back to the thing." He said, "Lieutenant, I'm telling you, you got to haul ass, you got to get down this road, but do not go to the right. I know that's a shortcut." Well, my dad, being who he is, goes right into the woods and sinks the tank.
Oh, no.
And he said the sergeant comes up on the tank behind him, and he's just shaking his head, and he said, "Lieutenant, I wish for 1 minute you were a corporal."
Exactly. Yeah, the officer can get away with a little bit more than us peons,
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, one of my favorite things is when we were at Cherry Point, Perry and I, and we had two boot lieutenants, but one guy was more, even tempered. He was smart. He learned, but he was in command. He was a good guy, but he took advice from those above him. And then we had this other guy who was like a little butter bars, and he was getting, I'm in charge now. And long story short, he was flipping out about something, and this is just a funny little thing where he wanted satisfaction. And he ran to Daddy, and he went to the major and was complaining to the major. And the major just gave one look at him and said, Lieutenant, I'm pretty sure Staff Sergeant could take care of this, and just like dismissed him and walked out there. He's like, just let the NCO, the staff NCOs handle this shit and just calm down, basically. And it was just,
exactly
perfect the way he said it.
Just simmer down.
You simmer down now.
Yeah, and you kind of have to, no matter what it is, you got to learn what's important, and you kind of got to learn your place. So
yeah, everything has its place in the military
yeah,
for a reason. Sometimes it's not a good reason, but there's a reason.
yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, I had a family friend go through. He was a Marine, but he was an officer. He was a pilot, and he went through an officer candidate school. And so before I was already signed up, but he came to visit me, and he was just like, hey, just like Perry said, they do everything for a reason. And it's kind of like that old Bill Cosby joke, where it's like, it intensifies your personality, but it's like, yeah, but yes, what if you're an asshole? It's like,
what if you're an asshole?
Yeah, they have these reasons, but is it a good reason? Because I remember being in boot camp and trying to remember that, and I'm like, no, seriously, I don't think these guys have a reason right now. They don't know what they're doing. They're arguing with each other, and they're trying to present like they know what they're doing, but they're literally fighting. Like, I think I was fed a little bit of lies here.
This is some bullshit. This is the propaganda machine in action.
Yeah, exactly. Leave it to an officer. No. Well, you know what? Should have mentioned this up front, and I wanted to say this to you guys. You guys are partly responsible for the podcast that we're doing, the format and the way we're doing it. I actually borrowed your concept of how you do the Wilder ride, and you're doing the movies of Gene Wilder. And I was like, what kind of movie should we do? What kind of series? And I couldn't really think of one. But I wanted to incorporate the Marine Corps somehow. And that's where I kind of borrowed the idea of, well, instead of doing a series, how about a series of a certain type of movie? So,
it's awesome.
Yeah. So I hope you guys don't mind. I appreciate the inspiration.
Oh my gosh. Well, when y'all announced what you were doing, I was like, that is genius. That is going to be a great series, because there's so many good movies, and having it come from Marines where y'all can be like, nah, that's crap, or yes, that's absolutely, I was like, I'm in. I'm going to have to listen to this.
No, I think it's great because it gives you the latitude. That's kind of what we went into it with, thinking all the cool series we're taking. Yeah, so exactly. The second thing was,
right.
It was right after
a podcast about her.
Yeah. So after Gene Wilder died, I said, that'd be kind of neat to look at his movies. And Walt was like, oh, I'm there. Let's do Young Frankenstein. So that kind of we were in with that, and I think it's been pretty well received. This year, our movie fell apart a little bit because of 2020 and some other challenges at the beginning of the year, but we always had an idea to put on a side podcast where it was more of a talk show, because we've met so many really cool people, and you don't get a chance to necessarily interview your guests. Your guests are there to help analyze the movie minute. So we wanted to always have kind of a second show. And so at least the one positive out of this season for us is we were able to at least focus on developing the talk show side. So that's been cool.
I've listened to several of those, and I like that format. It's something different, and like you said, it's nice to actually get to know some of the people a little bit more. So it's great. But yeah,
cool. Thank you.
I wanted to publicly thank you guys for the inspiration.
Yeah, motherfucker,
well,
you just told
welcome.
them that they're entitled to half our profits.
No, because
the idea came from them, you dickhead.
I had my fingers crossed. They didn't see that. They're fine.
If we ever make any money, we'll put the check in the mail.
Yeah, they'll get their little stipend. It'll be like 10 cents here and there.
Oh yeah, it'll be like those little lawyer checks that you get. Like, hey, yeah, you're part of the class action shoot. Here's your $2 and
yeah.
Well, look,
that'll be $2 more than we've got.
Yeah. Usually just get ripped up. I'm not even gonna burn the gas to go deposit that piece of shit.
Hey, can you just Venmo that over?
Fuck that lawyer.
Well, for us, we're just happy that for once we inspired somebody to do something positive.
Are you sure?
Normally,
you
we're the example, like, don't do it that way.
Okay, comparatively positive.
Exactly.
Oh, you know what? That's a good point, Billy. Good point. We got the inspiration from them. If we get blamed for anything, we can just point them back to these guys.
Yeah.
Everybody else does, so why not?
Your idea.
Siblings,
That didn't take long at all.
the federal government, everybody blames us for shit.
Right. So, do we blame you for COVID then, or what's up?
Oh yeah, sure. What the hell?
No, we don't want to take no.
Yeah, that's opening up a door you don't want to open.
Right.
Well, Alan and I both joke about this, but there's a lot of truth to it. He's got 4 daughters, and I've got 3, and so we're, we both of us have been married for decades, so we're used to being blamed for shit. So
I like the way he goes. He pauses. Decades.
Yeah, there's like
for a long ass time.
It's okay, guys. It's safe here.
Yeah.
You're not to be
By
By
blamed.
the way,
here.
I'm playing for any attorney who may be subpoenaing this. I'm playing a character.
Yeah, Walt is playing a character. He doesn't really believe anything he's saying. Oh, yeah. No, I've gotten used to a long time ago that I will never be right about anything and everything is always my fault. So that's fine.
Again, I'm seeing a lot of commonality in all this. This sounds familiar.
It's like looking in some strange mirror.
Yeah. Like 2 different versions of Rick and Morty.
Yeah. Son of a bitch, I'm in. All right. Well, about this minute, what do you say we wrap up this minute and go find out? Can you come back on Wednesday?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
sure. Hump Day is a good day for me. I got nothing else going on. It never lives up to that with me anymore. So we're good.
Right. Well, before we go, why don't you guys plug away?
All right, I'll start. I usually pitch to Walt on this anyway, but we are the hosts of the Wilder Ride, where we are looking at the movies of Gene Wilder, 1 minute of a movie at a time. We did Young Frankenstein in season 1. We did Blazing Saddles in season 2. We started our pre-production on Silver Streak for season 3 when some virus from China decided to put everything on its heels. So we started a side show under the same name called the Wilder Ride Listeners Lounge, where each week we at least spend about an hour and a half to 2 hours with what we think would be a cool and interesting guest. We have some segments. We look at some odd news. We look at entertainment. So we try to keep it fun, informative, but also light. We don't try to get anything too heavy. We want to keep the audience happy, maybe learn a little something, and at the very end of the day, maybe take their mind off of their other problems while they've been listening. So that's kind of the podcast. Walt, why don't you let everybody know how they can find us?
Yeah, the easiest way to find us is on Facebook, facebook.com/The Wilder Ride. And then we have a listeners group. So if you follow us, the button will pop up to join our listeners group. And that's all just entertainment and, no news, no craziness, just, entertainment and some stuff about the show. So that's about it for us.
Excellent, guys. Thanks again. And thanks for coming. We'll keep our plugs light today and just say join us on the Quarterdeck Facebook page as our listeners group. And other than that, I hope you guys can, everybody joins us on Wednesday for minute 116. And guys, I never podcast without my plastic.
It says Craig joined.
Yeah, I sent it twice.
Oh, there we go. They both came through at the same time.
Oh, okay. So the
There we
problem's you.
Cocksucker.
I feel like that moment in Blazing Saddles when the governor and Headley are looking at each other like,
I didn't get a harump out of you.
Harumph.